I went in there, and I'll never forget, he goes, here's this saw. Use this. This is how you do this. Here's some silver solder. Never use anything but that silver solder right there. And see you later. I always listen. I listen to people. I really don't think I applied anything that anybody ever told me. I saw some things I didn't want to do and how not to do things. I always grew up that way. I was like, when my friends were doing bad things, I would be like, that's not what I want to do. And then when I see, even my stepdad, I would be like, I saw where he went wrong there too. I'm not going to do that. It was always that way. All I tell everyone is, man, be passionate about what you're doing and love the Lord, and He will provide. You know what I mean?
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. I'm really excited about today. We've got a guy that probably a lot of y'all know, heard of, seen his stuff, Kerry Kelley. And we're going to learn a little bit about his background and how he's built his business and what he's got going on now. So how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, so we always start with your background. I know you've been on some podcasts and stuff before, but kind of where'd you come from and get started in all this?
Yeah, I always tell the same. It's the same old story. I always get tired of telling it, but everybody wants to hear it. But I've been doing this for a long time. This is my 30th year. Just had a little.
I saw that the other day. Yeah.
So I look back and I go, man, I was just a kid, but I worked for my parents, my stepdad and my mom. They had a heat treat shop in Fort Worth, which heat treating is it's just hardening metal, So my stepdad was a metallurgist, modern day blacksmith, with a degree. It's what it is. I worked there for a little while. I did a lot of welding. Even in high school, I was a welder, and I welded there. Went into some sales, some purchasing there for them, and did a lot of the business side there when I was at a young age. They had a little, I'd say it was a fab shop. Like they built hot rods and dragsters and things like that. They had it on the west side of Fort Worth. And they had a lot of fabrication stuff in there. So I built my first pair of spurs in there at that shop.
And the whole time, I mean, you had a ranching side to all that also?
Yeah, I skipped that part of it, but I roped and I rode bulls a little bit in high school. I never was really good at that. I was just really scared every time I did it. And I guess for good reason,
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a little of that high school rodeo stuff, worked for a stock producer in high school, still doing my welding and things like that. Roped a little bit. I loved to cowboy on the side. So I met, one of my good friends. I mean, we'd go rope wild cows and for the sheriff's office or whatever, and then I worked for him on this ranch for Cody and Bill Todd. That's where I met Bill Todd. I always say he was my mentor. He's passed away now, but he took me to get my first pair of spurs. Ray Anderson, I don't know if you ever heard that name. He was an older maker, but he lived across the road from Bill. Took him out there, and I'd been tinkering with the buckles and things like that. Bill would take me to the Western Heritage, which it's another story. I'll get into that later, but the Western Heritage, he'd take me out there and we'd go every year, traipse around there and trade on some spurs and just dabble in that stuff. So I got into building some buckles. He took me to get me that pair of spurs from Ray. And I told Ray Anderson, I said, hey, I'm kind of playing around with this stuff and I'm going to build a pair of spurs. So Ray said, man, when you do a little bit to them, just bring them back to me. And he kind of gave me some pointers, some things I still, take into account today. I took that pair of spurs and he's holding them and just looking at them, I'll never forget. And he goes, part of finishing the spur being finished is feeling of it and just being smooth and those edges around it, not sharp or anything like that. And it's one of those things I still think of today is finish, But
Yeah, I see a lot of like, I used to trade a lot. Now I'm more, I guess, of a collector, but a lot of, especially like you see some guys that start out, or even just some older guys like that they just have a different style or whatever. But just a lot of them are more. Some of them are heavy and just like basically a piece of metal bent around, and some of them are more rounded and lighter and, like you said, more finish and just smooth. Looks like to me.
yeah, I always liked Dickie T's. That band was really beveled. I like that part of that. I like those Erlon Shirleys. I love Byers and Clappers, and those are those four that I really kind of cut my teeth on. Nowadays, you can a guy starting out, he can go to a school and learn all the stuff. You got the internet to look at. I didn't have that stuff. I had those guys' stuff, and I'd just study it and go to the Heritage and look at it, trade on it like you did.
Yeah.
But
Were people, I know you said he kind of helped you out, but was it more like closed off and secretive back then on the makers, or?
That's a good question, because it really was. It's not like now, like Wilson has a school or whoever, Wes Griffin, he has schools all the time down there in South Texas. And like, you would walk up to a guy like Bill Clapper and you'd start to talk, I would, try to talk to him, and it was like, who are you? And you think you're going to get something out of him? No, you're never. I mean, Ray Anderson was the closest thing I got. And, and you don't get to come in his shop and just learn, and he'll teach you things like that. Later on, while I was working at my parents', I met Jim Edwards. Jim lived down in Blum, and he came in and was hardening some mouthpiece dies. So if anybody knows this, I bought Jim Edwards out years later because of the relationship I made with him there. Because one of the salesmen came in and he goes, hey, he knew I was dabbling and playing around with that stuff. And he came in and said, hey, there's a guy in here you need to meet. I said, okay. So that's when I struck up the relationship with Jim. Jim was kind of the same way. He goes, oh, yeah. Come down to my house and I'm going to teach you some things. He came, I went in there, and I'll never forget, he goes, here's this saw. Use this. This is how you do this. Here's some silver solder. Never use anything but that silver solder right there. And see you later. I was like, that's what I got.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get a little school now.
Yeah.
That was the most I got. And lo and behold, I mean, I still use that solder, that hard solder that I still use to this day. I think it's changed a little bit. That stuff was kind of bad. It had cadmium in it, which was bad to inhale. And the same stuff that Billy used, that solder, that if you mount something with that, it's not coming off. I always took into account, man, if I'm going to build something, I want it to hold up. And I always built it for cowboys. Starting out, cowboys, if they were cutters, ropers, whoever, they were using them. It wasn't like I need to put sterling silver and gold on there. I need to put nickel silver, hard solder, and it was going to get banged up and used. But that's all I wanted. I wanted them to use them.
Yeah, and it sounds like your guys you kind of learn from. I mean, I respect that today. Even like, you can get more help if you're like, hey, I already tried this and I'm stuck here. Can you direct me anywhere, instead of just being like, hey, will you just help me start? It's like, no, go out there and try it a little bit, put forth some effort, show that you're serious, and then come back and get some help. Exactly.
Yeah, I always hear people like, hey, surround yourself with this person and go learn from that person. Well, I never had that opportunity. I mean, when I say it was self-taught, it was trial and error, and it was ugly at first, you know, and that's how you did it.
How much, how many pieces do you think you built before you ever sold any or tried to sell any of it?
So I have a book, and I lost it forever, and I think I found it in my shop, and it was just in a shelf somewhere, and I kept a ledger. I wish I'd have kept it. Just there's a lot now, but there was the first 250, 300 pairs of spurs, and I always say this. It was said, I always wrote who it was for and kind of described the spur and how much I sold it for. Well, the first 100 of them, there was very, very few of them I got more than $50. Most of them was free, free. You know,
Did you have a vision for like that could be a business, or was it just like a hobby?
I did, and still when I was working over there, I remember going to lunch with my friends. They were salesmen, or a salesman that came in, and I would tell them, "Man, I'm leaving money on the table. I could be making an extra $600 a week, right? Building spurs." And that's what I thought. When I always tell when Wendy graduated from Tarleton, and she had this job. She had an internship there, and they offered her a job. And I was talking to those guys, and I was saying, "Man, I'm going to go build them spurs." The orders were adding up. There must have been 20. Looking back, 20. Oh no, that's terrible. But Wendy quit her job, and I said, "Milt, you got insurance now. I'm just gonna go and do my thing, and you're gonna help us out here." Not like she was a breadwinner, but everybody always accused me, "Hey, you're building spurs now? Man, your wife's got a good job." So went through all those years, and thought I had all those orders, and then I tell everybody, I said, I'd run across crummy people that wouldn't pay you, or all those things. It was tough. It was tough. I had a little shop, probably not bigger than this room right here, wood floor. I remember I'd be grinding on a rowel for, you got a couple hours in it, and I'd drop it through a crack in the floor. And you just look, setback after setback, every fork in the road, going back to, people had the opportunity to study under somebody, and I was self-taught. And I always look and I go, man, that was great, because every fork in the road, I could have gone this way or this way. Not saying it would have turned my career around or anything, but I was always on track. I wanted to be a spur maker. I wanted to do what I love. And that's what I just steered that direction.
Yeah.
And thank God I didn't have any setbacks. Wendy was always on my side. I don't say she held me back, but when I was thinking really big, and really big can break you.
Yeah.
That get rich quick is not always great.
Yeah.
Wendy would always be that voice of reason, and she's kept me on track all these years. So
DX Trailer Sales is based out of Lubbock, Texas, and it's definitely not just a trailer dealership. If you are involved in the Western way of life, and if you're listening to this show, you probably are, they have something you need. From trailers for a day working cowboy, to a full-time cattle hauler, to hay trailers for a farmer or rancher, to arena drags, rope and chutes, and feeders for the rodeo cowboy or cowgirl. They also deal in every kind of hay any of your animals could ever need. Literally anything you need for farming, ranching, or rodeoing, they have something for you. And it's gonna be at a super affordable price. Besides all that, everyone you deal with there is super friendly and helpful. We just got new custom flatbeds built for our pickups, and I also got probably the coolest trailer you've ever seen built. And you can stay tuned for a video we're gonna do, and it's gonna show all of that and some more of their products also. So check out DX Trailer Sales on Facebook or dxtrailers.com. I have the same thing with my wife. I'll come up with crazy ideas and stuff, and she's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah. If we do this and this, it could all work,
Yeah. It sounds great, doesn't it? She's like, "Why don't you sleep on that for a couple of days, right?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like. I mean, I always say this. Like, people always see the end result, not the journey. I mean, I'm sure you were the same as most people that have any kind of small business or something starting out in anything. They're just, it's like you want to quit, and then, but you love it. And like, you just go back and forth all the time on hour by hour. I'm just giving this up. I'm going to go get a job in town, and
yeah,
this is so stressful.
Yeah. And thank God I loved it, because it was hard. There's a lot of hard times.
It seems like, I can't remember. There's been a couple people, like, I asked about life advice and stuff, and they're like, if you want to do it, whether it's riding bulls or building bits and spurs or whatever you're going to do, just like, you got to love it, because you're going to have those days where you just want to quit, where it's stressful and hard and you're not getting paid anything and all that.
Exactly.
So how did you start? Did you start with like kind of building buckles and then go to spurs, and how did all that evolve?
Yeah,
like
it was into the spurs, and then there was several years went by, and I met Jim, like I said, and he called me up one day, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to sell my business," and my stepdad, which I was working for at the time, he said, "Man, that's great. Just eliminate, some of the competition, buy them out at the same time." It was affordable, and it got me jump started on the bits, I think. But I never forget Jim. He went back into business not soon after that again, and just I thought, oh, that wasn't worth the paper.
You didn't have a non-compete clause in there.
There, I thought there was, but you know how those work. There's always ways around them.
Yeah.
I still, I look at Jim and I go, man, I owe him a lot, but there was that time where I was like, oh man, what in the world?
Yeah. Do you think, or had you built any bits before that came up?
I had. They weren't very good, and I just tinkering with it. I remember people giving them back to me and saying that, hey, you might need this for your collection. I was like, no, okay. They're not very good.
It's I just asked all that to kind of like, it seems like my buddy got into building buckles. He built me a buckle the other day that I got for Father's Day, and it seems like that's more cut and dry, like you're just working on a flat surface, and then spurs kind of need a right feel, a little bit of feel to them, but it's not as important as like you're putting something in a horse's mouth, and that's for sure a tool that's got to make the horse do a certain thing and all that. It feels like, it seems like that would just be like a whole different science as compared to cutting metal out and welding it together.
Yeah, that was a longer road for me, and the jump start from Jim, which I think he's a brilliant mind when it comes to bridle bits and what they do to a horse, and he had a relationship with Greg Darnell. That's another one. There's guys that do it now, but thank God that there were those guys that really knew what they were doing, and if not for that, I wouldn't have the head start that I have now. Now I kind of collaborate with different people. You can't reinvent the wheel on a bridle bit, but you can improvise. You can add to it, test it out, and I have people, trainers or whoever around me that I'll build something, or they'll come to me and say, hey, let's just do this, and kind of add on to it, but not reinvent it at all.
Yeah, it's probably just about everything's been done, I would by now.
Yeah, but you're right. It's not like, I think there's more that goes into building a cowboy boot and making a custom boot fit than, it's more like that compared to a spur's easy, buckle's easy, but fitting a boot to a guy, that's a pretty hard deal. In a saddle too.
Yeah. That's just how I've seen a bunch of my friends and stuff kind of progress. It's like the easier, just cutting and welding stuff together, but like, it just seems to me like when you get into messing with those horses and stuff, it's it's a whole different science there. How did you, like you're the first one that kind of, whatever you want to call it, kind of mass produced and did more of a cowboy line, or like a lot of all that unmounted stuff. Like, where did you come up with this whole was there, I guess, take me back to the pivot point where you're just trying to make it as a custom bit and spur and buckle builder, and then you kind of like, hey, this business I could really grow it into actual business.
It goes to Jim too. Jim put all those ideas in my head. He's like, hey, you can do this and you can wholesale it. I've done that, and he'd show me the way to do it, and he introduced me to a guy down in Meridian, which I still use the same shop there. They do still machine some parts for me, but Richard would help me on making some of the parts and things like that, putting them together. And he would make me jigs that I have some of the most incredible tools to make this stuff with. He would help me produce those where I could just go along there and make them faster and faster, several hundred of them. I always did that. And that came from Jim. But I was always, hey, I'm going to do this for a living. I'm going to make money at this. I'm not just doing this because there's so many guys out there. You know how it is. But I would go to those shows and see those guys sitting there, and they would have a pair of spurs and some bits, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm 8 years behind. And they had that right there. I'm not taking any orders, but I'm not selling anything either. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So every time I would go, I would, try to have something to sell. And then there were those guys that would come and, hey, I'll buy the rest of it. Those guys have the same Teskey's mentality now. I don't know if you know Casey and Bryce out there. Mm-hmm. You do, but they've kind of taken that to a whole different level now. And what they do back there in the corner, it's way cooler than anything they used to do. Mm-hmm. I love it. But yeah, as far as I used to get accused of, oh, Kerry's building his stuff in China. Well, that was, man, it made me so mad, but I couldn't say anything, like, what do you say? I mean, somebody comes back and tells me, hey, I had to get all over. Buster was the main one. Buster would always take up for me. He goes, you never even been to his shop. How would you know what he does, But you would get accused of all kinds of things just because you're out there, like I'm not out there like Henry Ford was, but I had the same mentality, just at a smaller level. Just that, I'm going to figure out how to make more of them. I'm going to make them better, and I'm going to produce them just because I want to make a living doing it.
Yeah. Did you see? You saw a big hole in the market there, I guess, a need for that, because there definitely has been those. I know, at some point, Cowpuncher started produce like the copies of all these bits and stuff, where a guy could go pay $100 and something and have a far out looking bid or whatever, and spurs and everything. But like those $250 unmounted, and you're getting the same quality and everything, just no silver on it. Mm-hmm. That was like the biggest hit. I mean, and a good investment too, because you could go buy one for $250 and you're going to sell it for $250 back, and it didn't matter if it was brand new or old or
they
whatever.
Still make money on them. I mean, they still buy them brand new and sell them for more now. And I always stand behind them because I can get a used one back that's worn out, and I'll put a new mouthpiece in it, and I've got rusty shanks there, and I'll sell them. They sell, a lot of times they'll sell faster than a new one for some reason. I don't know, but that's how I can kind of say, hey, I'm gonna give you a brand new bit. You just wore this one out because you used it so much. I'm gonna give you a brand new. It's lifetime warranty on it. Not many people can do that. Don't you wish you could buy a truck and have lifetime warranty on it? It'd be great.
Yeah, I've actually heard. I think it was I don't remember, but it was a gas pickup. I don't remember which brand, but they had a lifetime warranty. Well, first thing that goes wrong, they try to get out of that any way they can.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it's just, that's why I want to have you on, because you're not just a maker, but you built it into a whole business. And I know, like my buddy, do you know Preston Johnson? Mm-hmm. So he was a buddy of mine, and he built our wedding rings, and he's built me several sets of spurs and stuff. He doesn't like the spurs and all that because he says it's not as profitable anymore. But
right, yeah, the jewelry's a lot better.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was asking him about that, about his mentality on making all that stuff one time, and he was like, he said when he got started, I think he was talking to his dad or something, and he was like, you can either go, there's a fork there. You could either go like Kerry and get big, or you can go like more specialized, like a Billy Clapper, where you just charge a high price and only build a limited amount or whatever. And he's like, I decided to go this way, which then he evolved to where he won't even do the cowboy stuff anymore. He's like, I can build a ring in a day and it brings more money than a pair of spurs or whatever. Exactly. But yeah, I knew there had to be something like that there for you, especially like you said, you were like, I want to make a living. I want to make a good living. Mm-hmm. And I think in our industry as a whole, cowboys, farmers, ranchers and stuff, everybody acts like they don't want to make any money. It's like poverty is like looked up upon, It's like, no, I want to go make some money.
Yeah, and they've always had that guy telling them like, No, you can't. You can't do that because you're going to make too many pieces, and then it's not going to be worth anything. And you have these collector guys. I used to remember those collectors would come to you and like they'd be like, "How many of those did you make? Why aren't you numbering them?" And I'm like, "Why do I want to number them?" And then I'm like, the high numbers don't bring as much money, so you can make more money off of me.
Yeah.
No, it's not that way. It's not going to be that way.
How did you do that? How did you get your stuff? Was there a strategy there, getting your stuff out, like getting known quick at first, like building your brand and stuff, getting your name out there?
I don't think there really was. There was just always that mentality that I want people using the stuff, and I said, man, I can figure this out. So every time I would get to a point where I'm like, man, this part is killing me. I'm making this correction bit and I'm doing it this way. Let me figure out how to make more of them, because if I can sell 10 of them, I can sell 100 of them like that. And so every time I get, and still to this day, I'm like, this part is costing me. If it's not costing me, it's costing one of the guys working on it in my shop a lot of time. We're spending so much time on this. So I'm going to figure out if I can build a tool, or if I can build something, or I can speed this process up. And that's the way I was. Just ingenuity is what it is. And, you know, I always tell people I was a dreaming ingenuity, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't the greatest silversmith. I wasn't the greatest welder. I wasn't the greatest blacksmith. But I can tell you how to do this because I'm pretty good at business.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was Rockefeller. I want to say it was Rockefeller talking about if you can do it. He's like, you need to make it a better product and make it cheaper to beat your competition, which is like, you know, counterintuitive. How do you make a better product and it's cheaper than everything else?
And that's exactly what I did. And I think he even said the same words too. He was talking, it was one of those guys, Vanderbilt or Rockefeller is one of them. And he said, and this is always something, man, I hated this because people would talk about me. Even when I was small, and I look back and I go, why were they talking about me? Because I was their competition. And he said, if they're not talking about you, you're messing up. When they stop talking about you, that's when you need to worry. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they say all publicity is good publicity. And it's, I mean, even on here, the stuff we talk about, I mean, most of the comments you see on social media are going to be negative because that's just the people that comment are the ones that are going to leave negative stuff. But so you have to kind of, I don't know, block that out. But it also, same as like before it was social media, it was word on the street or newspapers or whatever. Your name's still getting out there. And, you know, Clinton Anderson talks about that. You know, if you don't have any haters, then you're not doing anything. But yeah, it's kind of tough because you want everybody to like you, but also it's like they need to talk negatively to get your name out there anyway.
Yeah. And you know, I might blow off at somebody or just say something stupid sometimes. I've learned not to, because, you know, you don't say something to somebody, when somebody says something bad about you, and now it's on Facebook or something. Wendy always tells me, Kerry, don't say anything. Okay, don't say anything. I'm not going to say anything. But I do some stupid stuff. I blow up at people every once in a while. I mean, in person, and I threaten them because I have this Irish temper thing that I've been cursed with.
Your logo with the fighting Irish.
That's where it came from. So I do say some things like, and I'm not saying that I'm like Clinton Anderson. I'm not that way, but I'm not Miles Baker either. I'm in the middle there. But all of a sudden something can trip my pit bull and I glaze over, and I'll say something or I'll get in somebody's face or something like that, and I always, oh man, that's going to come back to haunt me. Sometimes it does, because they call me out. You know, it's Chris Cox always told me, he said, man, the higher you climb the ladder, the more people see you show your ass.
Yeah. Let's be honest, ordering custom merch is way harder than it should be. You get some random sales rep who thinks ag is short for aggressive. They slap your logo on a boxy tee no one wants or the same cap that your competitor has, and then hit you with surprise charges for artwork, setup, and who knows what else. That's why I've been working with Brand Cowboy. They actually live in the ag, western, and outdoor world. No artwork fees, no setup fees, and they know what looks good because they're part of the culture. They're not faking it from an embroidery shop in the big city or screen printing shirts in their brother-in-law's garage. We're even building Wealthy Cowboy Show merch with them right now, and it's been awesome. They made it easy, fast, and actually fun. And if you want more than logos on blanks, they've got full cut and sew capabilities built from scratch, custom fabrics just for your brand. Private labeling inside and out. Head to brandcowboy.com and book a call. Mention Crockett and get a free 30-minute consultation on how you can build merchandise that your customers will actually want to wear, and at such a high quality you could offer it for sale no matter what industry you're in. Brand Cowboy, made for you, made for your brand. Was it when you were starting out? Was it a lot of working ranch cowboys? Because now it's like you're huge in the cutting world. The cow horse, the cowboy also. Like, what was your first? And then how did that evolve?
It was that Western heritage, going out there, and I'd set up just a table just not even as big as this, and I would sit there, and I might even set up with somebody else the first couple of times, and then I went to the cuttings. I told the story at the 30th party. Had a backpack, and people always come in the store. They tell my kids, they said, "Oh, I knew your dad when he was toting around a little bag." And I said, "Well, it was a black backpack, and I had spurs in there, and I'd wander around the cutting, and I wouldn't have a booth. Of course, I didn't need a booth. I had 10 pairs of spurs in there that I'd just made the previous 2 weeks. I'd stroll around there, and I'd go in that exhibit hall. Back when the exhibit hall, there were a lot of people, and they kind of appreciate it. It was before the internet and Black Friday and all that other stuff. You went to an exhibit hall, and that was an elite one there at the NCHA. So I'd stroll around there with my bag, and there was a certain spur maker in there, and his wife would see me, and I'd have a huddle of people around me, and they'd all be getting some bags, and they'd say, I'm buying these, or hey, make me this. And I'd sell in an hour, 2 hours, I would sell everything I had in that bag. And of course, didn't really need a booth because I couldn't produce enough to go in there and justify being there 30 days or whatever it was. But I remember she'd see me coming, and she'd go tell the guy running the show, and he'd come up, and he was polite. He'd wait till the crowd dispersed, and he'd go, "Hey, Kerry, you can't be in here." Okay, so I'd mosey through the stalls out on the street, I'd sell the rest of them. Before the cutting was over, I'd be back with 10 more pair, and I'd do the same thing again and sneak around through there. She'd see me again there. I was always sneaking around. I said, "Well, what's the matter with that?" But that being said, after setting up there, I can kind of understand a kid coming in there, and cramping their style because they paid all that money to be in there.
Yeah.
After a while, this is me going from the cowboy deal to the cutting deal. I would sell some stuff through Brad Lesh out at Cow Horse Supply. He had a trailer outside. I had the bits in there with him, and then one of my friends, I think it was Sean, introduced me to the guys at Letty's, and they let me set up in their booths. I had to have stuff in their store so they would, say it was legal for me to be in the cutting with them. So then I started there, and then several years passed. I became a sponsor of the NCHA. So it went pretty quick after that, and then I had my own booth in there and so on and so forth. But
it's a good thing they weren't like super mean to you and you just like screw the NCHA or whatever.
Yeah. No, it was never that way. It was I could kind of understand where they were coming from. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we kind of touched on that earlier, but I never let you tell kind of your side on the developing those unmounted, the cheaper bits. Did you just see see a market there? Like, did you get that a lot? Like a lot of guys being like, man, I really want something, but I can't afford it, or something like that, or
Not really. I mean, all that notion came from Jim, I think, and then he said, hey, if you can do this and you get these shanks done, and then you just pound them out, and I'm going to show you how to do this. And then you come down to my house and I'm going to show you how to weld them up, this and that. And he said, then he introduced me to this man in the raining. And he said, this guy is going to take your bit. If you'll make him a couple hundred bits, he's going to take them up to Oklahoma City. He's going to sell them for you. Man, I don't know if this guy's still alive or not, but I'm not going to say his name. He took my bits and he never paid me. So, how about that? And I don't know, months went by, and Jim said, what about him? Are you still going to make some more bits for that guy? I go, man, Jim, that guy never paid me. He said, what? He called him up and threatened. Of course, Jim's just mean. He's meaner than me. He was a lot meaner than me. He called that guy up, and that guy showed up at my house with a check. I was like, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
He had nothing to do. I mean, he had no dog in the fight, really, but he said that guy ain't going to do you that way because I introduced you to him. So
that was probably was that early on when probably you needed that money too?
That was like the first 100 I ever made, right there, like, yeah, I was in debt with just building those bits.
Yeah. But how long do you think it took you for you could be like, I think this deal's going to work out? Oh, man. To this day, I always go, is this deal going to work? No, I don't anymore. It was probably, 2003, 2004, and I was like, man, this is pretty good. We built a house after that. I built a new shop, and things were pretty good. Just blessed. The Lord, I always say the Lord has blessed Wendy and I. Unbelievable when he didn't have to. But I was always able to do what I love right out the back door of my house. Both of my shops have always been right out the back door of my house, probably less than 30 yards. I was able to raise my kids. Most of the time, they're trucking in and out of there, whatever. But I was there with my wife and kids. I told Wendy, she's always had a little side gig or whatever, but she quit her job, I guess, when my middle son was just a few years old. She, quit her good job, and I thought, well, that was about the time. So Canyon's 20. So that was a good 17 years ago, to answer your question, probably, that when I said, well, I got this, I don't need your help. And that was the goal. I don't want her to have to work. I want her to raise the kids and let them be out there screaming in the yard and me looking out the door at them, Mm-hmm. I've always been blessed that way. Yeah, I think that's like to me, that's like what we were talking before about being wealthy. And to me, that's like wealth, to be able to be there, raise your family, and do what you want to do every day, and just be happy, live a good life. It's not a dollar amount. I mean, mm-hmm. There's going to be a dollar amount tied to it to be able to do that probably, but it's not all about chasing a certain dollar amount.
Exactly. Because when you start out and I'm not called a bit maker. I'm not called a silversmith. I'm not called a welder. They call me a spur maker. That's what they call me. And when they say, "Oh, you're a spur maker," and they say, "Well, that," and you think of it this way too, like, oh, I'm just a spur maker. I'm really not supposed to make a lot of money, but mm-hmm. I don't care. I really don't care. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I love.
Yeah, you just kind of had to throw out all that talk that everybody, I guess, mm-hmm. always talks. And did you take any, like, were you like talking to like mainstream business people to kind of get that business side and applying it to the more cowboy bit and spur maker deal?
I always listen. I listen to people. I really don't think I applied anything that anybody ever told me. I saw some things I didn't want to do and how not to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I always grew up that way. I was like, when my friends were doing bad things, I would be like, that's not what I want to do. And then when I see, even my stepdad, I would be like, I saw where he went wrong there too. I'm not going to do that. It was always that way. I can't remember anybody even really giving me any advice, because they were like, just like what you said, you're just a spur maker. You're doing what you love, and that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
But just like all those forks in the road, though, I took the good one, and I developed a pretty good thing. I was able to purchase a foundry several years ago. I employ 14 people at my house, and I employ 50 people over there, along with doing the oil field and the mining and all the parts we produce over there.
Yeah, talk about that, about expanding. When did you say you got into that?
It's been a few years ago I was able to purchase that, but I always had some parts made. Even when I started out with Jim, he had done some parts there where we produce a tool and we're able to mass produce a part over and over, which it's the same. Instead of machining it, we're able to use a good quality material and have this part that's replicated over and over. So on some of the smaller parts and parts that I was needing 1,000 of or 2,000 of a year, it's I would use the Dow Air over in East Texas. So every year, this was my business plan. I would build a tool and I could produce one of those parts that was costing me a lot of time, a lot of pain and blisters and neck surgeries. I've been through 2 neck surgeries, and I always
just for being bent over.
Yeah, just pushing on it and grinding and with your head down in an awkward position. I blame it on that. Now I've had some bovine incidents, where I've been yard darted and things like that. I mean, there's always those things, and I just fell Saturday, and me and the horse just took. Thank God we're both okay, but there's always that stuff. But back to if I could get those parts made and figure out a better way, produce more, and where I can take time doing more silver stuff or whatever, that's what I did. So my plan was I'd take that, and then I'd have so many tools that I could reproduce these better parts with that are superior parts, because they're better quality, better material, things like that. So that was my business plan. So I went on. It's probably been 20 years that I've been doing that, and then the couple that owned the place, they were becoming of the age they need to retire. So I told them a few years ago. I said, if y'all ever want to sell this, look me up. And I think they approached somebody working there, and the guy couldn't afford it or something. And they asked me, and they said they didn't want to sell. They'd had many people, like big businesses. They'll buy a company like that, and they'll keep it for a little while, and they'll sell it.
Yeah,
That's what they do. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do that to the people that are working there. So I went to Wendy, of course, my girl of reason. You've always got to have a good person behind. Every guy that's been successful had always got a good wife, probably. And she's like, she said, yeah, that's a no-brainer. If that sells, and you got a lot of chips in that deal over there. So I put the business plan together. I hired my brother-in-law. He runs it for me now. We build parts for probably 6 or 7 major bit and spur makers. 6 or 7 of them. And I'm not going to say who they are because they don't want me to say that, but some from California that that are big time guys, I make their parts over there, and they're not that guy out there in their garage doing it. These are guys that know what they're doing, and probably one of them, I cut my teeth on some of his videos when I was starting out too, and I'm actually doing his stuff now. And I told him that when he's like, man, that's awesome that you told me that. He said, that's something that we're doing it this way now.
Are you tired of paying record high bull prices only to watch your new purchases damage themselves or your things, or even worse, stand in the shade and melt? 100th Meridian Ranching's bull leasing program offers a cost-efficient way to get your cows bred and creates more flexibility for you 9 months out of the year. With over 400 Black Angus, Red Angus, and Charolais bulls in inventory that are in range-ready, working condition, this could be the solution for you. Check out 100th Meridian Ranching on Facebook or Instagram, 100thmeridianranching.com, or give Lane a call to discuss more, 325-226-5240. What about that? Say a Billy Clapper, or a lot of other guys do, like a hand forge. I mean, it's completely hand done compared to one of yours that's from the foundry and you've put together however you do it. Is there any, what's the comparison as far as, or besides just preference of knowing that this is completely hand done versus?
Yeah. So Miles is a kid. He cowboys and ropes and stuff. He's one of my welders over in the shop. And he said, hey, how'd you get to doing this? And why do you do it this way? And I said, man, Miles, I started out the same way. And I tried to make a one piece, and I made a couple of them. And I said, that's for the birds. If you want to make some bits and spurs and get them out there, you better figure something better out.
Didn't Clapper say it was like 40 hours or something to repair spurs? I was thinking I heard that.
And I don't even want to tell you how many I can make, but Billy Clapper made a lot of stuff, right? He made a lot of stuff through the years. And I love this. I love his stuff. I owned a bunch of it, and really respect what he does and what they are. But it'll blow your mind how many I've made compared to him. There's no comparison. Mm-hmm. But back to telling him, that one piece, I've done it all, but I'm gonna try to do it better and with a better product and do more of them, just because that's what I want to do. I want you wearing my stuff. I want the next guy wearing my stuff, and it's a feather in my hat to see all those people using them. The 4130 that I use on my spurs and on my bit shanks, that's the same material that he used on his spurs. So he would take, everybody says a Model A axle. It wasn't a Model A axle, it was a Model T axle. You ever seen a Model T axle? It's a piece of bar stock and it's round, and he would split them and make his one piece out of there. But those were Model T axles, and now they weren't, that material wasn't called 4130 back when Henry Ford was making them in 1928 or whatever it was. But it was the best alloy that they had at the time. So they analyzed it and compared it to what alloy it is in modern day, and it's 4130, the same stuff that I use. So he used premium material just because he was forging them out of that Model T axle.
And as far as just like them holding up compared to like being put together versus forged, I mean, is it
I don't think there's that much difference. If I thought I was making an inferior part, I wouldn't be doing it. Mm-hmm. I think I make the best quality stuff there is. I think they fit better. I think the bits hold up better, and just the way I would do it if and I do use this stuff, but if you were using it or anybody down the road, I want them using the best there is.
Yeah. You
can't bend my spurs with your hands, and if you did, I'd be doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, I everybody's going to have wrecks and stuff. I know I had a bit one time from a buddy of mine, handmade bit, and it was a solid, like a 336 pattern. I don't know what happened to it, but it, like the side broke off. The shank kind of, I don't know if it broke completely, but it busted a little bit. I just had my horse thrown on the trailer and got home, and it was like that. And he's like, "What'd you do? Pull a truck out with this thing?" And I was like, "Man, I really don't know what happened to it." And I've had, some spurs bent from horse falling on me or something, but generally it all holds up pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had them break, but there's always some crazy thing. You know what I mean? A horse can fall down and break one off, or sit. It's mainly sitting back somewhere somehow. Their horse is sitting back with the reins tied to the fence or something. They break a lot that way.
Yeah, I had a Pat Vaughn Argentine snaffle that I loved to ride on colts, and I don't know why. I bought it a long time ago and just loved it forever. Sure enough, had a colt tied up at the sale barn and got hung it on the side of the fence and just ripped it apart or something. And I was like, dang, my favorite one. And I had to send it back and get it fixed. But I mean, the good thing is just like, and I don't know, I think a lot of makers are this way, like to go be able to go back and fix it. And it's like, I don't care if it breaks. I mean, there's going to be stuff break all the time, but if you're going to go back and fix it for me, I mean, I don't want it to be a habit, but stuff's going to happen. And
yeah, and when you start producing as much as I do, you get them sent back to you. They're broken or whatever, and it becomes it's a big deal. I have to stay on top of it. Reroutes, I have to stay on top of it. I fix probably 20 a month. I have come in for reroutes, and the longer I do it, the more it seems like the more and more come in. But you've got to be able to fix them and send them back out. Stand behind your product, and it's a tough thing sometimes.
Yeah. And do you build? I mean, you're like, I'm gonna charge more, but I'm gonna stand behind it better than anybody else, or? Yeah,
I've just that. If my name stands for quality and me standing behind it, I want my name to mean something in that way.
My perspective has changed. I mean, it used to be like when we were working for $100 a day or something. I mean, you just couldn't afford whatever you wanted, and it's like, man, I want it, but I can't afford it. Blah blah blah. I'll just get something cheaper for now or whatever. But now I'm like, the difference in the cost and the value, I guess. It's like, if I don't care if it costs $2,000, but if I don't have to worry about it for the rest of my life or whatever, and it's maybe go up in value or hold its value, then that's worth more than going and buying 2 or 3 of the cheaper ones. And it don't matter if it's a vehicle or a saddle or a bit or spur or whatever it is.
I'm that way about tools or grinders or belt sanders or whatever. And the belt sander that you're getting, you're like, well, that one sounds good. It sounds like it's a good price, and he's got all these tricks to it. But who is he? Is he going to stand behind it when it breaks? He's only made like 3 of them. Oh man, it's tricked out. It does some cool stuff. But where's this guy going to be? He's only been doing it a short time. So that's where I think that I have it on some people. Like, they know I'm not going anywhere. They send that bit back, it's going to get fixed, or it's going to be stood behind, and they can trust in my name,
Now, I know you've kind of mentioned some of it, but who are some of your top mentors?
So just Bill, he was a great Christian guy and helped me start out. And it wasn't so much that he was helping me business-wise or critiquing my spurs or anything like that. He was just behind me, saying, "Man, you can do this. This is cool. I want you to succeed, and I'm gonna tell you things that make you want to do this. Not say, hey, that's not gonna make any money, or you can't do that, or that's a terrible idea." He was like, those people that do that for you, and I try to do the same thing for my kids or a kid coming into my shop. I'm like, hey, if you want to do that, just do it. If you want to do it and you love it and you're passionate about it, go for it. The other one, a big one, and I don't say enough about him, but Ellison Carter. Do you know Ellison?
I know Nathan pretty good, but I've never met Ellison.
So I've known Nathan since he was a little bitty kid, but through his dad.
I told Nathan that we talked about it at Stanford about getting him on there. And he's like, I don't know if he would, but he's got a lot of stories.
Oh, he's funny. He's the greatest. But when I was starting out, it was in those first 50 pair. He saw a pair that I made, a friend of mine, and he said, hey, tell Kerry to come see me. So you go out there to the yard, he's sitting at his desk, he kicks his chair back like this and puts his feet up on the desk, and he says, hey, I love that spur right there. And I go, you do? And it was just a little short roper, just a little nothing shank on it. I didn't think it was that great. He goes, make me 12 pair of them. Okay. And I did. I came back, a month later, and I made him 12 pair. He made them for this person, this person, this person. He goes, okay, make me 10 more pair, and I want you to put these initials on this one, these initials on this one, these initials on this one. Okay. Became one of my greatest mentors and a good friend of mine, and I owe him a lot. But those next 10 pair, the first ones were probably for Nathan or some of the guys in the yard there. And the next ones, it was Johnny Trotter, Robbie Thigpen. He sent them all over the country. Well, guess what? Johnny Trotter calls me up. Till this day, he still does it to this day. Hey, I need 10 pair for Christmas. Now, it might be December the 14th, but he'll call me up and say, hey, to this day, he introduced me to Robbie Thigpen. Robbie does the same thing. He would order up spurs and that right there ignited my whole thing. Getting him to send those guys spurs and then
get them in the right
that
hands.
Word of mouth was one of the biggest sparks that ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. Now other mentors, some of the people I worked with at my parents' shop and things like that, they were always behind me, helping me, and just had that word of confidence too.
What about, if you could say one skill or trait was the most important for success, what do you think that would be?
Trait?
Or a learned skill, or just...
Man, I don't think I had, I did all this, I learned all that stuff on my own, but the main thing was just getting up every day and being consistent. And I do that. I get up at 4:45 every day. I beat the guys to the shop. They get there at 6. And I consistently do that every day. I walk faster than everybody else. I do things faster. Sometimes it's, not the best thing. I have to slow down, but I do things at a pretty fair speed, and just being consistent. I've always been consistent about everything I do. I might eat lunch at the same time every day, now I think I rope at the same time every day. That's one of those benefits of being able to do what you want to after a little while. Mm-hmm. But just consistency.
Do you think, like you said, those guys that helped you early on, was it, you think it was because they saw you working hard and consistent at it, and just your passion for it?
When they see the passion, and then, they care about that kind of stuff too. But when they see somebody like that, they want to get behind them. Mm-hmm. And I always look back and go, why did Ellison do that for me? But he cared. He wanted to help somebody like me. And
do you see it now that you're in kind of more in those shoes than being a kid starting out?
Exactly. And I'll go, he didn't have to do that, but wow, what an influence, Mm-hmm.
What about some resources for that somebody that wants to improve their life in some way? Like, are you got any books or podcasts or anything like that that you?
I was watching a podcast the other day, and this guy, I think he walked up to this man and said, "Who's the richest guy here?" or something, and he said, "Oh yeah, I have these words of wisdom, and you go read this book and about, what to invest in." I don't have any of that. All I tell everyone is, man, be passionate about what you're doing, and love the Lord, and He will provide. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. If you didn't hear Ben Hale's story on episode 69, you need to check it out. He's been earning trust in the cattle industry one handshake at a time since 1995 at Western Livestock. Western Livestock is proud to be family owned and operated now with 5 locations: Oklahoma City, Woodward, Comanche, and Waurika, Oklahoma, and also Knoxville, Iowa. They're proud to do business the Western way with honesty, integrity, and a handshake that still means something. You can join them ringside or stream their sales from wherever you are. Western Livestock, where a handshake is their word, cattle are money, and timing is everything. If you're looking to buy or sell, contact Ben Hale at 940-631-BEEF. That's 940-631-2333. Check them out on Facebook or westernlivestock.com. Western Livestock is now accepting consignments for their September 20th horse sale in Woodward, Oklahoma. Visit westernlivestock.com to learn more. That was my next question, would be advice to someone getting started, which that would apply to anybody, but do you have any advice maybe to specifically like a bit and spur maker or somebody getting started in a trade like that?
Well, it's easier now. I would surround myself with someone that's pretty good at it. Like the guys that come into my shop now, I used to frown on it, and I would be like, you want to learn how to build bits and spurs? No, I'm not hiring you. But now I go, you know what? You care about that? You're probably going to be a pretty good hand. And if you want to come in here and try this on, guess what? I might only have you for a couple of years. I might only have you 6 months, because most of the time it's that way.
Yeah.
But bring it on. I'll help you.
Yeah, you just knowing that you're going to lose them after you invest, show them how to do it. They're going to go out on their own.
You just created competition.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned, either in life or business in general?
Man, it's probably what we talked about earlier. Don't always listen to those naysayers. If you can tune that out and just stay on track and don't listen to that bad stuff. Just tune it out.
Mm-hmm.
That was always one of my worst things and kept me up at night, and especially when people say stuff that isn't true. And you go, oh, they're saying stuff. Some of it's got to be true. No, they say stuff that's not true at all. This stuff is made up, and I'm like, where did that come from? It hurts your feelings. It really does. And for somebody to be wearing their body out and working as hard as 10 hours a day, worrying about where the next check's coming from, it cuts you to the core when someone says that, and you're like, wow, if you could tune that out, and it's hard, but that's the advice I'd give.
Yeah, I've gotten to where I just don't believe all that stuff, even if I might be like, that's probably true about that person. I want to, be around that person face to face, spend some time with them, and then I can make my judgment or whatever I'm going to do. But even I hear stuff about myself that gets back around to me, and I'm like, what? Where did that even come from? And it's crazy. I mean, whether it's positive or negative, just some of the stuff that gets, that comes back around. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So now I've seen it just like, I was listening to a podcast on the way up here, and he was talking about they were talking about politics and stuff and all the stuff going on. And he was like, I just get to where he's like, you can't take the media, good or, whether you like what they're saying or you don't like what they're saying, just tune it out, because it may not be true either way. Yeah, so. Especially nowadays. Don't get me started on that. It's gone to a whole different level, and it's unbelievable
what they say or what they won't say about what's going on. I listen to, you only see what you believe in. Now they're getting a whole different story. Now I don't know everything to know about how feeds are, but a Democrat's getting fed a lot worse stuff, and we're getting the other side of it.
Yeah.
But I did listen to this one lady, and she made a lot of sense. She said, I was a liberal. I don't know where she was from. And she said, she even called herself a libtard. She said, but when I had kids and I learned that I've got something to protect here, I said, I'm going to go buy a gun. I've got coyotes coming up in my backyard. I'm going to shoot those coyotes. I'm going to even make a hat out of one of them. I'm going to kill them. I've got something to protect. So I always just say, yeah, that's exactly right. You and we have something to protect. Our family, my church, my businesses. I've got something to protect, and I stand behind it, and I'm going to be protective, and I'm going to own a gun, and I'm going to take out something if I believe that's going to hurt me in some way or another, or my community somehow. And those liberals, man, they're like, they don't have anything to protect. They've got, my transgender agenda. That's what I have to protect. So I'm going to hate Trump. I hate him. Why do you hate him? Because he's Trump.
Yeah.
That's all you can come up with.
Yeah.
Because that's the only agenda you have, is to protect your whacked out ideas.
Yeah. I was listening to, it was a podcast on founders, is about Steve Jobs, one of his books. And he was talking about leadership and management. I can't remember exactly what he called it, but he was talking about, like, he wanted managers. He wanted to come into a meeting and have debates and arguments and stuff, and like people, saying their side. But he said you all have to have. He used this analogy. He's like, we all want to go to San Diego. Everybody in the room wants to go to San Diego. Now, how are we going to get there? One person wants to drive. One person wants to take the train. One person wants to fly. And they all argue their points. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to go to the same place. So at the end of the day, you can agree, like, oh, yeah, it would be smarter to fly because it's far and it'll take less time to fly there, whatever it's going to be, and cheaper and save time. So everybody can agree on it. But if you don't have the same end goal, then you can never agree. You're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know what today's people are thinking, because they can argue against policy, but some of them want to argue against things that are good for Americans, good for people, and they want to knock what he's doing and for the good of America, just to promote or just to deny him anything, and now they're knocking down Americans. They're totally hurting society just because they're not arguing policy. They're arguing against one person and the good things he does.
Feelings and emotions. Well, to get back to away from all the doom and gloom, what's your favorite restaurant?
Oh, favorite restaurant. Oh, for a funny reason. So not a chain, right? I do have some good chains, but there's a new place down the road from us. It's called Rio Brazos, and I love it. And mainly it's 2 miles down the road. I don't have to go to town, fight the traffic, and it's really good food. And there's a good chef there.
We'll have to go try it out.
Yeah.
We've kind of struggled, I guess, a little bit to find somewhere good in Weatherford that we really like. We ate a really good meal at Longhorn there one night. Might have been a fluke deal, but it was really good.
Roadhouse and Longhorn, best chains, right? Mm-hmm. For as a chain goes. But you should try Rio Brazos or Salt downtown. It's a good one.
Wait, is Rio Brazos like at Silverado down there.
Halfway between my place and Silverado, it's right by
I think I saw it the other
Riata
day.
Equine.
And then what's the best way to get a hold of you or buy your stuff or all that stuff?
So the website, I always forget how to say that, but you can look up Kerry Kelley.
On any platform, probably.
You can buy it. You can buy it at Teskey's. They stand behind it just like I do. I keep them in stock there. They're good to me, and just like anybody, just like a good friend. That my name is good out of their mouth out there. I always like to say that. if you say my name, I know it's coming from a good place. So.
Yeah.
Teskey's is good, and then my website, my store, any of that stuff. We're at 2 trailers on the road at all kinds of horse shows too.
Yeah, Teskey's. I've been trying to get somebody from there on, either Casey. They said Michael won't do it, but
Mike won't do it.
I've been trying to get Casey. Casey said he would, but then anytime we try to schedule, he's busy or something. But that's crazy what they built there, and it's what they built before even they built that whole Cowboy corner deal. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's a big place.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and y'all go check out all Kerry's stuff. And now that you've heard his story and all the background, I'm sure you're gonna want to go buy something. So, and he's got something for everybody. So y'all go check him out, and we'll see y'all next time.